you just never know who you might see at a Tar Heel basketball practice.
That's right.
You could be sitting there and you just don't know. There might be a world champion coach there. That was the case this week when we're just sitting there watching the Heels and saying, who's that guy down there? It kind of looks like, could that possibly be? It is. It's Michael Malone. He's right here with us in Pod World headquarters. Coach, thanks so much for coming by.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. And, I learned something interesting. Pat Sullivan, who I call Sully, on the staff, played here, Tar Heel legend. He told me, because the first practice I went to was in the practice gym. Then the first time I was in the big gym, the manager brought me in to sit upstairs. The next thing I see Hubert Davis waving, "No, bring him down here." So then I was sitting on the floor. I thought, this is nice. I had no idea what that meant, though, until I went to dinner with Pat Sullivan. And he said, hey, that's a really big honor. Because I didn't coach here, I didn't play here, I didn't graduate from Carolina. And that seat is reserved for family. And that made me even feel more welcome. And it's a pleasure to be here with you guys today. And I really enjoyed my time at Chapel Hill and watching the Tar Heels get better every single day.
Did Sully tell you he was a Tar Heel legend?
Yeah, this is generating her there.
No, I first saw my daughter came on her official visit last year. We're at a football game. And at halftime, went over to meet Sully and Coach Davis. And the amount of people that were asking Sully for autographs and pictures, I was like, and he's laughing. He goes, man, I didn't win a world championship. You did. But no one knows me here, which is great. But they all know Pat Sullivan. So, yeah, Sully is a legend in his own mind.
There you go. Yeah, that's probably better. Obviously, we want to talk basketball. But, Coach, you mentioned didn't play here, didn't graduate here, but you do have a Tar Heel tie now. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, well, even before. So my tie right now is our youngest daughter, Bridget, is a freshman, plays on the volleyball team. And she's been coming to camp here for a few years. She came in January as a gray shirt freshman. So my wife and I have been here a bunch of times. And but long before my daughter chose to come here, I'm the son of a coach. And my father was a high school coach in New York City. And the amount of times I heard him talk about Dean Smith and Carolina from when I was a little kid. And I've always been a Carolina fan. And when she decided to come here, that made it even that much more special. Because now I'm go Heels for everything. I root for all the teams, have fallen in love with Chapel Hill. They have a big game tonight against Duke. They're 2-0 in the ACC right now, top 25. And it should be an exciting atmosphere tonight. Hopefully they can get another one against that crosstown rival.
Yeah, there you go.
We've been saying that volleyball sneakily is one of the best fan experiences in the athletic department. From someone who's seen a lot of big-time sporting events, give us the sales pitch on why Carolina Volleyball is worth going to see in person.
Well, I would say, building off of last year where they made the NCAA tournament, won the first round match, losing in the second round. Mike Shaw, the head coach, his coaching staff, terrific coaches, even better people. That's one of the big reasons that we felt really comfortable with our daughter Bridget coming here. But the girls, right? It's all about the players. And what I really appreciate about watching this team is how connected they are. They truly do play for each other. And no one cares who gets the credit. If one girl comes out, they're rooting for the other girl to go in for them and to have success. They're playing at a high level to be top 25 and a really deep and talented ACC conference. And the crowd, the last game was against NC State on Sunday, and the home court advantage is real. Carmichael, which is a legendary gym for a lot of people, right, growing up and seeing the likes of Michael Jordan play in that gym. But that's a special place to play. The crowd gets behind them, and hopefully they can continue to do that as they get deeper into this tough ACC schedule.
Coach, there's so many questions I want to ask. Let's start with you sitting down right down there on the floor watching the Tar Heels practice, and we're not going to give any away state secrets here, but what have you seen from this group? As someone who knows the game, what have you seen from this particular Tar Heel version?
Well, the first thing I'd like to talk about is the guy who is leading the show, Hubert Davis. Coach Davis, to me, I've gotten to know him and don't know him well off the floor. We're working on that side of things, but from a coach to coach and watching the preparation. But what really stands out is how passionate he is. Obviously played here, was an assistant here, now a head coach. The amount of love and passion he's pouring into his players, into every practice, has really been incredible to watch, and I have a lot of respect for that. the coaching staff behind him, from Sully to Brad Frederick to Sean May to Marcus Page to Jeff Lebo, all guys that all played here and have a tremendous amount of pride in the Carolina family and tradition. And the players, I told them yesterday, Hubert asked me to speak to the players after practice, and because the first message I gave Hubert after practice was, because as a head coach, you can't see it. Sometimes you can't see the forest through the trees. And I said, Coach, it's really important for you to know that you guys are getting better. I've watched 5 or 6 practices now, and from the first practice to today, I've seen a marked improvement. And he was really happy and relieved to hear that. And he wanted me to share a few words to the players, which I did. But a lot of new faces. And when I watched Carolina last year, everybody would say, well, we got to get some more size. They've done that. We got to get more shooting. They've done that. You lost 2 really good players, obviously, in the backcourt, and RJ and Elliott. But they have some really good players that have been here, new players coming in, transfers that they bought in. And that's all you can ask for as a coach, right? Come to Carolina, buy into our system, our philosophy, our culture, and now you're starting to see all that, and then the chemistry is coming together. And you have a guy like Luca from Montenegro coming in, and I said, you got to realize, guys, that he's getting used to this life here.
Right.
Not just basketball on the court, because that's a new language, new culture, new everything. And you can see Luca getting a little bit more and more comfortable every day. They're really fortunate to have a player in Seth Trimble who's just a natural-born leader, who's been here. And I know Hubert leans on him to, be that, coach on the floor and the guy that huddles the guys together. And the players always, you can tell, have a ton of respect for him. The young kid, Caleb Wilson, really talented. What a bright future and upside he has. But when I watch them, the most important thing for me as a coach that jumps out is that they are working hard, they are improving, and they're coming together as a team. And it's not going to happen overnight when you introduce that many new players to a roster. So love being in the gym and excited to watch this team, take steps on what's going to be a really big season for them.
Adam Zeller and Hansbrough better watch out as the analyst on the radio network. We'll just get Coach Malone in there, come do it all season long. Well, he'll give him a basketball 101 during the season.
I got nothing else to do, so let me know. I'll be there.
When you inevitably go back to the NBA, will you be incorporating bejeebies and fart into your lingo since you've been watching the Tar Heels?
That's such a really interesting question. And those who know me well, especially my wife, my daughter, I give Coach Davis a lot of credit. And I love the fact that a lot of Coach Davis's beliefs and philosophy come from Mount Rushmore of coaching: Dean Smith, Bill Guthridge, Roy Williams. I mean, we're talking about not good coaches, great coaches. And obviously his loyalty to coaches like that. Whenever I speak with Coach Davis, I take a deep breath and say, okay, don't speak like you normally speak. Because I have a really hard time saying fart, gosh darn, dadgummit. That's just not in my vernacular. But it's becoming more and more comfortable. And as I challenge myself to be on my best behavior when I am in Tar Heel territory.
What do you see from a coaching perspective, which you know a lot more about than we do, in the way that these guys are being taught by this staff that you think is creating the improvement that you're talking about?
Well, I think I've been in the NBA for close to 25 years. I grew up in a gym. My father was a high school coach, college coach, NBA coach. And he taught me many, many years ago that the best coaches are teachers. And you teach the why. And one thing I learned along the way in the NBA is also the fact that players don't really care how much you know till they know how much you care. And that's one thing that's really evident to me is from Hubert Davis all the way down, those coaches care about these guys, not just as players. They're not here just to win games. They're investing themselves into them as people. And when players feel that kind of love and care, they're willing to go the extra mile and do so much more. So I think that's the beginning part of it. But from Hubert to all the coaches, start practice, they're introducing offensive and defensive ideas, new things they're going to do. They go through it, and they hold them to a high standard. And when, it's like John Wooden, the laws of learning. And when there's a mistake, they clean it up and they go through it again because repetition is the mother of all learning. They have to go through it over and over and over. So that's where, for me, seeing practice 1 to practice 5, that's 5 days of mistake cleanup, mistake cleanup, mistake cleanup. And by the 5th day, fewer mistakes. And the guys are getting more and more comfortable with each other. And those are the improvements. And one thing I shared with the team yesterday, and I was really honored that Coach even wanted me to say a few words. And I never take that lightly because I said, Hubert, you're the head coach. They should hear your voice. And he goes, yeah, but you won a world championship. They have a ton of respect for you. They all know who you are. And so that was one of the things I talked about is that, yes, our goal in Denver was to win a world championship. But that wasn't what I talked about when we opened up training camp. My biggest goal as a coach was, can we find a way every single day to get better? If you're in the weight room lifting, you got to get better. If it's a player development, if it's practice, if it's film, whatever it may be, you have to find a way individually and collectively, find a way to get better. And when you do that throughout the course of a season, then at the end of the year, you're going to put yourself in a really good position. Because it's so easy for everybody. Oh, we want to win the ACC. But are you doing what you're supposed to do every single day? Or did you cut corners in practice? Did you cut corners in the weight room? And now you're just talking empty words. And we don't want to be a team. And I know Hubert Davis and this Carolina team is about all the right things. And, I can't wait for their season to get started. And it's going to be fun to watch them.
So you spent, as you said, you've spent your life in basketball and so much of it in the NBA. When you win that championship as a head coach, like, is it hard to get back at it and still love it? Or is it you've reached that mountaintop, you relax a little bit? Like, what is that feeling like as someone who's been in it for his whole life to get there as the head guy and do it?
Well, obviously, many emotions. For the Nuggets to win their championship, that was the first one in Denver Nugget history. And so to be a part of history, not only winning one, but the first one in their history, and the fans in Denver are unreal. I mean, they're so passionate. I was there for 10 years, and I had fans coming up to me on the day we celebrated with that parade saying that we just never believed that we'd win one here. And so to see that city have a chance to celebrate something so special was, life is about moments. I learned that many years ago from my mother and father, and that is a moment that myself, my wife, my 2 daughters, and my mother and father will never, ever forget. And then from a competitive side, I'm a greedy bastard. I wasn't like, oh, we won one. All right, now what's next? My thing was, well, how do we win another? And realizing with the landscape of the NBA, and no one has repeated back-to-back champions since Golden State in 17 and 18. It's really hard in today's climate to do that. And we failed in our endeavors of trying to be a back-to-back champion. And you just have to continue to work. But you realize that as you're trying to win it, you're a hunter. And once you win it, now there's 29 teams hunting you. And how do you handle that? And I felt that year that we were trying to defend our championship, I give our players a ton of credit because I think for the most part, they did a hell of a job of not just showing up. We're the champs. We understood what allowed us to win the championship. Yes, tremendous talent, but we also had a work ethic. And we had a culture built on that work ethic. And just because you win one, that's got to become even stronger. And, it's great to be. That's something that no one can ever take away from any of us that were on that team, coaches, players, staff, front office, ownership, that 2023, we were the NBA champions. And I think the last I had heard that my father won a world championship in Detroit with Chuck Daly. And so we're the first father-son duo to have coached in the NBA and have both won championships, which is pretty special.
Yeah.
In reading about you in Denver, the thing that comes up over and over again is completely changed the culture of the franchise. And you just mentioned they had never done it before. How do you create a culture?
Culture is a word that is just obviously used over and over and over again. And you could walk into a high school gym, a college gym, a pro gym, and you'll see all these quotes on the wall or all these big fancy words on the wall. And I laugh because most of the time those words are all hollow. They look great, they sound great, but it's not lived every day. They're hollow words. And when I got the job in Denver in 2015, Tim Connolly was a GM at the time. And he's the one that brought me to Josh Kroenke, and he vouched for me to get the job. And I told him, listen, year one, yeah, we want to win games, but year one is all about changing the culture and creating a new identity. And one of the best ways to change culture is by changing people. You got to get the right people in place. I can tell you, hey, our culture was built on three things: work, being selfless, and trusting each other. And we wanted to get people, not just players, but on my staff and throughout the building, that could embody that every single day and buy into it. And if you didn't buy into that, well, then you weren't a Nugget. That's what we identified. Those are the people that we want to be around every day. Because if you are self-motivated and have a work ethic, if you are selfless, where, hey, it's not about me, it's about us, we over me, and you're willing to trust not only the coaches, but trust each other, we would have a chance to do something special. And you look at our body of work in the last 10 years, it was probably the best, last 6 years especially, the best run in Denver Nugget history. And I was really fortunate to have great coaches in my coaching staff. And when you have a chance to coach guys like Nikola Jokic, an MVP candidate every single year he plays, Jamal Murray, guys that we drafted and developed. Jamal, just an incredible player that you don't win a championship without all of his talent, skill, and toughness. Aaron Gordon, you want to talk about a guy that embodies being selfless. He just came in and said, whatever you need from me, coach, I'm going to do to help this team win. It wasn't about him. It's about the team. Michael Porter. And I can go on and on and on about different guys that stepped up. But, yes, we demanded that from our players, but we also, I think, through the years, made sure the guys that we brought in through our background, through our due diligence, were guys that would embody that culture. And if we made a mistake, because you're going to make mistakes at times, well, then you obviously have a chance to kind of correct that course and make the necessary changes so you have the locker room that can flourish. And 82 games is a long season, and then another 20 or so games in the postseason. It's a challenge. It's a marathon, and you want to enjoy the people that you're around, because you're with those people more than you are with your own family. So I felt really fortunate and blessed to have that opportunity in Denver. And now that I'm out, go around, be around guys like Hubert Davis and the UNC team. I'll work for ESPN this coming year, do some TV work, even though I have a face for radio. And
I know all about that here, Coach.
And then, next year, obviously, in my heart, in my soul, I'm a coach. I'm a teacher. I would love to get back to coaching again, as long as it's the right opportunity with the right people. And, we'll go from there.
You mentioned Jokic. I think you were an assistant with the Cavaliers when LeBron was there as well. I mean, those are two of the best players, certainly of their generation, and two terrific players all time. How do you coach a guy like that? How do you coach LeBron James? How do you coach Jokic? I mean, these are guys who are so talented and so good. What is your role as the coach with guys like that?
Well, obviously in Cleveland, it was a little bit different as an assistant coach on Mike Brown's staff. And then obviously in Denver, it was as a head coach with Nikola Jokic for 10 years. I was fortunate to coach a guy like Steph Curry in Golden State, Chris Paul. And what I realized in my many years, and I saw this even before I got into the league, just kind of watching my father and his many experiences across all different levels, is that great players rather want to be coached. So can you challenge yourself? It's so easy to coach LeBron as a head coach or assistant coach and just marvel at his greatness and the things he would do every night, because LeBron, everybody wants to have who's the greatest. I don't know who the greatest is. I do know that LeBron is one of the greatest to ever play the game. So can you turn off your kind of fan mindset, like, oh, wow, we got the best seats in the house every night to watch this guy play? And I think LeBron and I's relationship in Cleveland was a great one, because I wasn't afraid to coach him, and he wanted to be coached. He wanted to be held accountable. He wanted to become better. And the same thing for Nikola. Obviously now a different seat. Now I'm a head coach, but my first year in Denver was Nikola's first year. And he was a goofy young kid, overweight, out of shape, but terrific personality, always laughing, always joking. And from day one through my last years, he was the same person. He wanted to be coached, never resisted coaching. And the last part of that is that I also learned from them. That's another one of the many, many lessons and gifts my father taught me before he passed, was that the players will teach you just as much as you'll teach them. LeBron's IQ is off the charts. Hey, LeBron, what do you see? Nicola's IQ off the charts. Hey, how do you want to guard this play? Because if especially in Denver, if we're going to talk about we're a team that trusts each other, if I don't trust the players and give them a chance to have a voice, then, well, that trust is, as I mentioned earlier, only really a hollow word. So the trust goes both ways. So the amount of things I've learned from guys like LeBron or Nikola Jokic, I feel really fortunate to have coached them, not because just they're great players, but also because the way they view the game and some of the things that they may see. Hey, you know what? I like that idea. We didn't even think about that as a staff. Let's try that. And now you're empowering those players. And so it's kind of, you're not just doing it because you're trying to be nice, but when certain players that you trust and respect have something to say, I'm going to listen. And I think that's really important part of being a head coach in the league.
You've lived in that league where international players are a daily fact of life. They're becoming more important in the college game. What should college basketball fans know and understand about international players that maybe they don't already know?
Well, I mean, if the college fan is watching the NBA, they've seen it time and time again now. I think the last 6 years in the NBA, the MVP has been a non-American.
Yes.
From Giannis to Nikola to Joel to Nikola to Shea. And so we understand that this game is truly a global game and is being played at a high level all across the globe. And now, as you mentioned, it's not just guys going to the NBA from Europe. You look at the current Carolina Tar Heel roster, and you have a guy from Montenegro. You have a guy from Croatia. You have Henry, who transferred from Arizona, who's also from Europe. So the one thing I would say is that you realize that these guys have been working on their craft and being taught at a high level since they've been young. Their skill level is what really kind of jumps off the table. Big, small, doesn't matter. Passing, shooting, footwork, understanding how the game is played. There are certain guys that you may have to explain each read, and other guys, you put them in a system and they understand how to take advantage within that system because it's innate. They've kind of grown that. And a guy like Luka, who's got so much upside, his dad's a coach over Montenegro. And so I think the Europeans do such a great job at an early age of getting guys in the game and not just playing the game. So I think in America, we play the game a lot, but who's teaching them how to play? And I think that's one thing they do a really good job over there is that they're being taught the fundamentals at an early age. And I think that's something that we could not take from them, but take back because that's how it used to be here. And we had to get back at an early age of, getting really good coaches in the gym when the kids are young and teaching them the fundamentals of the game. And that's one thing I think the Europeans right now that are coming over, as we see time and time again, are just doing a phenomenal job with.
This has been awesome. We've already kept you more than 20 minutes. We could do this forever. I have two quick things, and then...
I'm in no rush, by the way. My wife is so sick of me. I got fired in April, and she was like, take your time with that podcast.
She's actually the one who called us and wanted to know if we'd talk to
We
you.
should be interested in talking.
Yeah, is this a weekly show?
This is Michael Malone's agent. Michael, be quiet back there.
In Chapel Hill, we're very proud of the Carolina basketball family, and you mentioned that word a little bit earlier as well. Is that something that resonates at all past Chapel Hill? Is that something that is that a thing outside of here? Is that something that is known and cared about, I guess?
Oh, I think so, unless you live in Durham.
Yeah, right. We don't even count them. Yeah, we don't count them.
It's funny. I went to a restaurant in Durham, and I was telling Sully about it. He goes, oh, yeah, that's great. He goes, I'll never step foot inside Durham. It's like, there's fighting words for some people. But there is no doubt that there is a healthy respect for North Carolina, the Carolina family, and the tradition of excellence. As I mentioned, you just go back to Dean Smith and all the success that he, Coach Guthridge, Coach Williams, and now obviously As I told Hubert, I am rooting like hell for Hubert Davis and this team to have a great season because I just know how much he cares about this. And Hubert Davis is a great guy, and I've learned that in the short time I've been around him. And he deserves to have success. I really feel that. But I do believe, whether I'm in Denver, Colorado, growing up in Queens, New York area, that the Carolina tradition is definitely a national thing, not just here in Chapel Hill. And there's a ton of respect for what this program with this university has been able to do for many, many, many years. We talk about blue blood programs, and you got this year, Kansas is coming here to play. Kansas and the connections that they have with Carolina, you'd be hard-pressed to find people that may not even be a Carolina fan. They're definitely going to have a respect for Carolina and the tradition that they have here.
I feel like you're a great person to ask this. Like, where is the game of basketball, right? What can we do better in basketball, whether that's college basketball, pro basketball? I know you talked some about the teaching. Maybe that's the answer. But how can we continue to make sure that the sport is healthy and growing and going in the right direction?
Well, I would say overall, I do feel that basketball is in a really good place. And the reason I would say that, why is that? When you watch the Olympics, right, and the USA team, they're stacked, they're loaded. They have Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer. And then you have a guy in Nikola Jokic who can put a Serbia team on his back and almost beat them. And then you have a country like France, a country like Germany, and other countries around the world where the game is just growing. And that was one thing David Stern, who used to be the commissioner prior to Adam Silver, he wanted the NBA and the game of basketball to become a global game. And it's done that. I mean, the game has grown everywhere, in every corner of this globe, that the game of basketball is being played, being taught. The NBA is doing its job. They have academies across the globe. So to teach, once again, if that'd be the one thing I would say. So yes, the game is being played, but do we have places set up there the game is being taught the right way to get the most out of it? There's a lot of people, including my father, God rest his soul, who did not like the way the game was being played in the NBA currently. And you talk to a lot of coaches that have been around for a long time, and you watch some games, and it's a lot of dribbling, a lot of ISO basketball, a lot of three-point shots, and that's a turnoff for some people. Other people enjoy that. I'm much more of an old-school mentality. I thought the way we played in Denver was a beautiful way to play. We were one of the league leaders in assists every year. The ball moved. We believed in playing, that kind of game where the ball moved and we worked for the best shot possible. And we played team basketball. The New York Knicks of old with Red Holzman, team basketball. And Greg Popovich and what he did in San Antonio. And then Golden State kind of built off of that with Steve Kerr. You can play the game at a high level and have great success when everybody shares in it. But that comes down to each coach and their philosophy, and more importantly, the roster buildup and how to make the most, maximize the talent on their roster. But I just would love to see, in this country especially, at an earlier age, because AAU is just about, let's go play games. Well, you're guaranteed 5-6 games a weekend, but what'd you learn from that?
Right.
And did anybody teach you, and some teams just sit in the 2-3 zones, and now you're not even being taught how to play man-to-man defense or help side defense and the importance of that footwork. So I think teaching is kind of, as our players get more and more athletic, are we teaching them the nuances and the fundamentals of the game? And if we can do that better to go along with the tremendous athleticism, then I think we have a chance to make an even greater jump in this country as well as abroad.
That's the very big picture view. I want to ask you kind of the complete opposite thing, little tiny view. Most of our listeners probably are not going to be on the staff of an NBA world champion, as you have done. But they probably are going to go watch their kids play, as you have done.
Mm-hmm.
What has doing this at the very highest level taught you about the best way to watch Bridget play and to talk to her about her games?
Oh, that's such a good question. And I'll preface my answer with this. So my girls, when they were young, they were playing everything. They were swimming, they were playing soccer, playing baseball, playing basketball, running track. My wife was a Division I volleyball player, and so we loved that. And then as I got a little bit older, they were playing basketball. Then they got introduced to volleyball. And once again, my wife played volleyball in college. And then they both went to my wife behind my back and said, hey, listen, do you think Dad is going to be mad if we don't play basketball anymore? And I was actually relieved because going to their games, watching them play basketball was really, really hard for me because I'm overanalyzing everything they're doing and I'm getting upset. They're looking at me in the stands and they're getting more nervous because they see me losing my mind. And so when they decided to just play volleyball, I was like, this is great because I don't know anything about volleyball. So I'd go to the games with my wife and I'm like, was that good? Was that bad? But I think the number one thing as a parent is, and you see it all the time, and I was guilty of it early. I'm straight up. I was that dad sometimes. My oldest daughter, after a baseball game, I didn't think she ran hard enough to first base. So after the game, everybody's like, oh, hi. Hey, get the home plate, sprint through the base. And people are looking at me like I'm crazy. And so I've kind of mellowed out as I've gotten older. And I realized my job as a parent when I watch my daughters play is to, one, support them. I'm there to support you. I'm there because I love you. And I'm there because I am proud of you. And if I can offer a pointer or something, that's great. I always had just a couple of rules, no matter what sport my daughters were playing. It was play hard, be aggressive, and have fun. And that didn't mean, it had nothing to do with winning or losing, scoring points, kicking a goal, winning the race. Play hard, because if you don't play hard, we're going to have a problem. Be aggressive, because in any sport, if you're the more aggressive player, usually good things happen. And remember why you're doing this. Have fun with what you're doing. And those are three things that I could tell the Denver Nuggets, I could tell the Carolina Tar Heels, whatever team you're doing. If you do those three things, you're giving yourself a chance to have success and to have fun doing it. But there are a lot of parents that are still living through their kids. And, that's not really fair to the kid. Let them have their moment. Let them have their fun and support them. And never, never, never embarrass them, because that's not good for anybody. And unfortunately, we see that in youth sports. And I got warned one game for yelling at the ref, and I was like, all right, I better cool it here, because I'm about to get thrown out of a high school gym, and that's going to be front page news in Denver. So I said, all right, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.